Okay, now. So hello everyone. As you know, this is the one of the governance updates meeting. This is quite important for us, I think, because we have been discussing about many stuff, about a lot of stuff during a lot of time. Some of you know already many of the things we will just discuss today. But the idea today is to make a super quick introduction of what was already discussed, share the documents, and find some agreements on the way to proceed in the coming months. So I will make, as you can see in the meeting minutes, I propose to make an introduction, and then later we will see some tools with Cito and Domenico, and we can discuss about how to use them. And then later we will try to define several tasks and then activate these tools and the governance model we proposed. So if you don't have any question or any comment before starting, I can start sharing with you my screen and a short presentation I prepared. Do you have any comment or questions?
No.
Okay. Okay, so...
well, I do have a concern, actually. Are we going to discuss only about the level 2 today, about the coordination groups?
Well, the idea is to introduce again, some of you already know it and heard it many times, but introduce the levels and everything, but super quick. And then how the work groups could be organized and all the stuff, and then discuss about it. And then later, after knowing the tools we propose to use, define a set of tasks we all have to do to really define the work groups and the rhythms we will have and how we will meet and all this stuff. I don't know if I answered, Cito.
Yeah, so the answer is no. We are not talking about the level 1, and I'm a bit concerned about that.
No, but we will talk later. We will discuss later why it's not a good idea to activate level 1 now, as we already did in the governance group.
Yeah. Okay.
And okay, so I will share my screen. 1 second. Can you see my screen already?
No.
You have to see the Fbnb profile. You should see my screen, levels of governance.
Yeah, now we can.
Okay. Okay, so I will start talking about the levels of governance, then the spaces of decision making, and then the agreements and the tools we propose to use. I prepared this presentation draft. I will work on it to make it nicer and ready to even to share once we activate everything, but I think it can work for now. So the proposal we made, as you know, is that we have the CDA. We have 4 levels plus the CDA. The CDA is as we all know, the legal and administrative, I don't know how to say, a structure we have, but what we want to do with this governance system is to create a more agile and efficient in the day-by-day basis structure. So the CDA will be always there. The CDA has, of course, the full capacity to decide things, to block things, to activate things, but we wanted to create a more simple and day-by-day structure that could work. No? So we defined different levels structure. So we have the CDA, and then we have the level 1, the executive circle as the core group, as the circle who is very active with a lot of involvement in the day-by-day, and who is activating everything that is needed to work in the project, and is also providing the infrastructure and the tools for the rest of the circles in order to make them work. So I'm going very quick. If you want, you can stop me. The level 2 is the working group circle. I will introduce it a bit more in the next slide. The working group circle, this is the level 2, no, the operative circle. is composed by the coordinators of the working groups, as I will explain later, and it has a responsibility that is limited to the specific group that the coordinator is coordinating. Then we have the level 3, the collaboration circle, which is formed by people or entities collaborating in different working groups. And then we have the level 4, which is there is a mistake here, I would call it the follower circle. No? It's composed by people who is following us, who contributes in the different spaces we create, but they have no responsibility on the project. So as I said, this is a draft. So yeah, there are many things that need to be finished. No, but okay, we have a part of from the CDA. We have these four circles, governance circles. I will go very quick through each of them. In the first one, the level 1 executive circle is composed by 9 people who are elected in a democratic process. To be eligible in this circle, you need to be involved for at least 6 months in a working group, which means in a level 2. Why do we do this? We do this because we think it is really, really important that people understand how we work, which are our values, how the team works. We really need to test and the people who will be in level 1 and who will be basically doing and taking very important decisions in the day by day. No? So to be part of the level 1, you need to be involved for at least 6 months in one of the working groups. What does these people do? These people, as I said, has the max involvement and high reaction speed in the project. They can vote and take decisions around the strategic, economic, and product issues, except for everything that have legal consequences and that is related to the CDA decisions. No? And well, these people has full access to all the documents and the channels, except for those that are just for the CDA. So we go to level 2, the operative circle. As I said, this circle is formed by the working group coordinators, and I will talk about working groups later. To be able to be part of this level 2, you can have access in 2 ways. The first way is to become a member, and the second option is to be at level 3, which means to be a collaborator for at least 3 months. This is a proposal. We can check it, but this is our proposal. The people who is at level 2, basically, they are coordinating working groups, tasks, projects. I will use Domenico as an example. He could be a part of from level 1, but we'll discuss it. He could be at level 2, no, because he's coordinating the crowdfunding. But also the rest of us who are coordinating other tasks will be here. Which is what I always like to mention here is that this circle has or could have a lot of potential if we are able to engage the community. Because it would make Fbnb become, as Damiano always says, an opportunity space. Because if we can enable people to activate working groups, thematic groups, etc., it would bring a lot of energy to the project. These people has access basically to all the contents and channels related to their specific working group, not for the rest, okay? Collaborator circle is the level 3. What we have here is basically people who is keen to collaborate in one of the working groups that has been already created. The access they need to have to be here is to have a welcoming procedure. We define a welcoming procedure to new members in the governance proposal, and we can discuss it later. What they have to do, what these people have to do, is to take care of their tasks inside of a working group, and they have a right to vote decisions inside their working group. And they have access to all the contents inside their own working group, okay? And then we have the level 4, the followers circle. I won't go into detail because it's really simple. No, this is our followers, contributors, and they have access to the contents and the discussions that are open in our open channels. So if you don't have any comment, I will continue. And before going forward, I will say these are the levels, and it is very, very important to make the difference and to really understand that it's very different, the level of involvement or the capacity of decision making, which is the governance levels, from the decision making spaces, which we will see them later, okay? Where all these levels get basically mixed. Now, before going to these decision making spaces, I wanted to introduce some of the main ideas or agreements that we can discuss later. That, as I wrote here, we said this thing many times before. We need to change our organizational culture before changing the world, no? And I mean not just us, but if we want to be the network we always say, no, we need a very strong organizational culture that goes with our values. So some of the ideas I just wrote here are that the team is the core of the project. If we don't have a team that is able to work together to take care of the rest, to be empathetic, it is very difficult to have a project and to bring it, to push it forward. Connect and collaborate versus command and control inside of a clear, also hierarchical governance. We don't command, but we connect, and we are all aware of what we have to do and everything, no? Personal fulfillment as an ideology, it is important that we all are happy inside of this project, but as also Emanuele says many times, everyone is needed, but no one is necessary, no? So we need to be happy, but we need to be aware of what we can bring to the project and of what we can build together. Then also the limit of criticism in terms of efficiency. The permanent beta condition, this is very important. I am pretty sure that we can do super awesome stuff, but we won't build the perfect solution in the first moment. So we need to understand that it's an iterative process, everything what we are doing. So we need cycles to review and evaluate the stuff and to continue building it together. And democracy and work autonomy, an environment where we all know what needs to be done and we can organize ourselves to get it done. So also some agreements about conduct guidelines that I basically took them from Inspiral, talking also with Richard. It is important to respect diversity inside the project. It is important to communicate it gently. It is important to discuss concerns and questions, to resolve conflicts in an inclusive way and as a team, and to be aware of mutual responsibility. And before going forward, if we want to work as a team, as a collaborative team, and we want to be able to engage a whole huge community, we need to build trust. Trust is the basis of collaborative work. So to build trust, some of the things that really work very well are the creating, for example, transparency, working as a team, having the protocols basically I said here. So what we propose is to work from open processes. So everything that happens is clear. All of us are aware of what is going on, because we make reports and we communicate things. Open discussions, because all the decision-making processes are open and recorded. I don't know if that's the proper word, but basically it's the same thing. No, we are all aware of how the decision-making process is going. We share contents. I mean, the contents we are working on, the work we are developing as a team or as an individual are open to the rest of the team. We work from open, clear timing, rhythm, and cycles. And this is something we probably will need to improve now. So all of us must be aware when things are happening and how long are they taking and all this stuff. And open and clear spaces of interaction where decision making happens. This is super important, to be aware where the decisions are taken. And now, I don't know if you have questions or comments, because, okay. Otherwise, I will continue. Spaces of decision making. We already discussed about the levels, and as I said, levels doesn't mean that the decisions are taken there, but we must build spaces of decision making where all those levels interact, okay? So what we have now, basically, and we will discuss later, Sito, as you mentioned, about level 1, for example, what we really have now or could have now are a set of working groups that are autonomous but interconnected and open, and all those working groups interact together in a coordination board where everyone can be aware of what is going on in the rest of the working groups, and where the strategic discussions can take place. Okay. So here, which is super important regarding trust and collaborative work, is that all these working groups can be very autonomous, but they need to be interconnected and they need to be very open, so the rest of the people can be aware of what is going on, can get involved if they want in any moment, etc. So in this space of decision making, there is I don't know how to say it, but we have autonomy inside a working group, but if something happens, the next level or the next space of decision making is coordination board. So everything that is decided in a working group can be checked or approved for the coordination board. And if things are not working also in the coordination board, we have the CDA, okay? But we will come to this later in the conflict-solving escalating process. And now, talking about the spaces of decision-making, I will go a bit into the micro-governance of the different spaces we have. As I said, I will go back again. We have the different working groups that interact in a coordination board. But inside of every working group, we have, again, different levels of responsibility and capacity of decision making. We have the coordinator, which needs to be to work with the rest of the group to involve everyone, to be sure that all the procedures work, etc., to be very inclusive. But the coordinator, as coordinator of a team, has more responsibility than anyone, and has also the ability to decide things even by him or herself, okay, if it is needed. Then we have collaborators, and then we have contributors. And here I wrote several things that are important inside a working group. The roles, I already mentioned them. I heard some noise. Dome, creo que eres tú. Okay, I will continue. So we have the roles. The members, how do we interact with new members? We need to have a welcoming process. I already wrote it, and we can discuss about it later. But it is super important that, Dome, please mute the mic if you can, because I heard your noise from your mic. Okay, thank you. So we really need to take care of the welcoming process for new members. Then, which are the spaces of decision making in a working group? For us, it is super important, and we will discuss about it later, to really start working more as a team with more awareness of rhythms and cycles of, for example, every working group. For us, it is super important that decision making happens more in regular meetings. So there is more interaction, more collective intelligence, more working together, basically, than for that it is super important to work in regular meetings more than in Slack. We can use Slack to share thoughts, to discuss something, but we cannot use Slack, we cannot use, from my point of view, a tool to work together. We really need to create a rhythm and work as a team, no? And we will talk later about Basecamp. We can also, apart from the regular meetings, of course, to have a working group board. where we discuss and share things. Rhythms. Every working group should have a really clear rhythm defined, so everyone can be aware when governance is happening and join the meetings if he or she wants. Cycles. We need to define cycles where things change, basically, where we can evaluate how staff went, where we can also rotate responsibilities inside a working group. And every working group would be really good if every working group has different communication channels. And we differentiate among three kind or type of channels. The live communication channel, it is like a chat where we can discuss and share very quick stuff. Like, for example, hey, we have a meeting in 5 minutes. Then we have the asynchronous channel where we have another kind of conversations where we can be more reflexive, share our thoughts, etc. It can be a forum, no? Slack, Basecamp, but also as a part of our asynchronous communication, we should use more, as Emanuele said, a logbook, and this could be similar to the table Cito created for the coordination board, no? Somewhere where we write stuff in a very short way, and people can see what is going on, no, with every group. And we should report stuff in the reports document, and of course we use the calendar. And then a static channel is Google Drive, where all the static contents can be found. Okay, we already talked about the working groups. Now we talk about the coordination board, and it's really similar. Which roles do we have here? For now, the level 1 is not activated, and we can discuss about it later. So the roles we have is basically a set of coordinators from the different working groups that meet here to discuss strategic stuff and to update the rest of the groups. So the space of decision making here is basically the periodical meeting we have, and we could talk about starting to use Lumio to vote stuff after discussing it in the periodical meetings. We need to set a rhythm, and we already have it, a regular weekly meeting. We need to set a cycle where we evaluate and rotate, where we evaluate, for example, how it went during, for example, the last 3-6 months, and then we maybe rotate responsibilities and maybe activate, for example, in this case, level 1, but we will discuss about it later. And again, communication channels, we already have them. We have a chat, which is today our WhatsApp, and a synchronous channel, which is today our COP members Slack channel. We have the logbook, but we should use it in the day by day. We should have just one, I would say, one report document where we all write the stuff, and we have a calendar and Google Drive that we will discuss later how to organize it better. And now, inside of these spaces of decision making, how the decisions are taken. What we propose is the consensus way. As I wrote there, consensus does not mean anonymous agreement or engagement from everyone on decision. The key concept is consent. You can live with it, which is distinct from agreement. It's your preference or first choice. So if we work from consensus, the different positions we have are yes, abstain if you are happy with what the group decides. No, if you think that there could be a better alternative, but you are happy if with the group's decision. And block. Block is a very serious position, no? Because it means you stop a decision making, and then you have to build an alternative and to talk to the whole coordination board. And we made or found 3 different kinds of types of decisions. And this is super important to find agreement here. For us, which is super important, is to, as I said before, while respecting the trust of the group, the transparency and the different open protocols I already said before, for us would be very important that the working groups are very efficient and can work in the day by day without being an assembly, without asking all the time to the rest of the people, but always having a coordination space, a weekly space with the rest of the groups. So the regular type of decision is basically the one that is taken in the working group. So the space where it happens is the working group meetings. The time we have to take a decision basically, or to contribute to a decision, the basis is between meetings. But of course we will have deadlines too, because we have to finish something. Open info, we need to open the info, so the working groups needs to, their reports needs to use the logbook and need to use the calendar. Also the contents need to be open, so as I said before, the documents can be found somewhere, no, in Drive. And how the discussion happens, again, to be open and transparent and build trust, we need to create track in open channels. So, okay, we can talk by phone, but it's good also to write it later in our channels. Again, the consensus happens by consent. And if there is a block inside of a working group, we activate the conflict escalator, and I will explain it later. But basically, what happens is that if someone blocks any decision, first the working group discuss, then if it's not solved, it goes to the coordination board, and if not, to the CDA, and if not, we review the system, but we will see it later. The second type of decision is the general or strategic. Those decisions, these decisions are or the strategic decisions or those that get a veto from a working group. The space where they happen are first the coordination board periodical meeting or the coordination board channel, or we will discuss about it later, activating Lumi also. No? The time we have to get involved in those decisions again are between meetings, so we have week by week time. Again, we need to open the info, so give a briefing about the content, to give some context, to use the logbook, to use the calendar when we have meetings, etc. And the contents must be shared and open. Again, tracking open channels, consensus by consent, and if blocked, conflict escalator. And I will go to it later. And the third type of decision, and I will finish soon, is the urgent decision, which are general or strategic decisions that need a very quick answer. These kind of decisions need always to be justified and promoted by at least 2 co-members. Okay, this is important. So the space is a coordination board special call. So the working group will call the rest of the working group coordinators and would organize a coordination board, and also can use Lumio. The time to organize this decision-making process or urgent decision is 24 hours of deliberation, which means explaining the context, giving documents, giving a brief, and 24 hours for voting, probably using Lumio. Again, as I said, it is important to give a brief. If you cannot write a text because you have no time, you can send a video or audio. And you can share the documents. And again, use the discussion channels, no? And what happens if there is conflict? What happens if there is a block in a working group or in the coordination board? As I said, we activate the conflict escalator, which means, and it's very basic, no? If I have a conflict with someone or the idea of someone inside of a working group, I talk probably first with the coordinator. But the next step would be to talk to the whole working group. If it's not working, I ask for help to the whole coordination board. If it's not helping, I ask for help of the CDA, and if not, external mediation. And if all this goes into crisis, we review the agreements and the procedures we have, and we rewrite it together or with external mediation. And I'm basically finishing. Okay, I did a quick introduction of the things that were already discussed. I think there is an important discussion we must have about level 1 and level 2. But after that, I think we have now 10-15 minutes to talk about this. And after that, we would like to introduce the different tools we see it is important to activate, which are for the coordination, a working groups table, the logbook, calendar, which is working, to see how do we organize our meetings, to see how do we organize our communication and project management. We talk about Basecamp. there is a new proposal for the Google Drive structure, which is similar to the one we have, but is a bit more simple, Lumio. And then the welcoming process is really important to activate it, and then that all of us should use it and should help that the new people who arrive should also learn how to welcome new members, so we can, in an organic way, involve a lot of people. No? And okay, I talk a lot, so it's time for you. I don't know first if Damiano, Domenico, Sito, or Emanuele, well, all of you took part in these discussions, but Sito and Emanuele and Domenico were the ones most involved. So I don't know if you want to make any comment or before continuing.
No, what I would do is to go back to the presentation and go slide by slide to see if people have comments or suggestions or about it, because there have been a lot of slides, and I am sure we don't agree with all of them. So let's review it, because I mean we cannot just believe that we all agree with everything. So I would go with that.
Okay, I need to drink water 1 second, but yeah, I will share first the levels, and give me just 30 seconds and I will be back, okay?
I have I like all the principles and then all the different levels and stuff like this. What I'm concerned about is that, one, I think that we really need a team that is like a startup, let's say, so a real startup. The other thing is that I think that this is an amazing job to make for the distributed organization, let's say, for crowdsourcing and all these sort of things. I think that there is the risk to I think that this type of working groups and stuff like this are really good to do certain projects inside Fbnb, for example, but for the basic functions, this is not the best way on how to deal with them. But I think that we can work on a model that somehow mix the need of this type of approach with more formal one. And also the other thing is how we make sure that there are the right people in the right places, because it's more or less the real problem, because we have been until now, let's say, all of us are level 1, and it didn't work really well, no? All the members until now. Clearly there weren't clear rhythm and all this stuff, but I think also the problem is this, like how like the people and all these sort of things.
I would just make a comment, and is that this organization proposal is not, and it works in other companies or organizations, is not against a more structured and also, you can say, traditional organization is also compatible inside this governance model, where working groups, these working groups coordinators, for example, could be the ones that you, Carlo, wrote in your table. So it is important to do is to build trust, again, as I said, and to be open to probably the circle 3 and even 4, to make it available to contributors and to be able to build a network, no? A whole network, as we are saying, and be able to work with them, with all those people.
Yeah, the problem with this is that, as Damiano says, I think it is more for, it's totally fine, but I think the urgency now is actually in these few tasks that we need to do and these decisions that we need to take. So actually, I think that the key for the coming weeks is the level 1. And of course, the level 2 is also important. But I think we should discuss in this meeting how to coordinate them, how to incorporate them. For example, as I was saying yesterday, I don't think the working group of finance will be the same than the working group of other stuff, of anti-gentrification, for example. Because in finance, it will be the place where it should be the place, or it would be the place where we're saying if this budget is spent for hiring 2 people for marketing, or 1 marketing and 1, I don't know, CEO, whatever. And as I'm gonna say, it should be somehow centralized into, it's something you cannot talk. Finance cannot be an open group where you can talk about funding with someone that just arrived to working group. And working groups should be really, really open. And so I think there will be some groups that cannot be that open, that cannot be just.
Yeah, not all of them.
So, yeah, it's.
The thing is, I would say we can discuss how to activate level 1, or also, as you were saying here, for me, it is super clear that there are working groups that are strategic and essential and are closed, are not open to the main public, or even to the level 3, or even level 2, what we call now level 2. So for me, that's, for example, already a very important difference. And what we have now is a set of working groups that are that should be probably many of them more closed than open, and we should have coordinators inside of those groups. And what I find very important is to really start working as a group, as a team, and that's why, for example,
Sorry.
I was saying, no, before activating level 1, from my point of view, we need a phase where we activate internal working groups and we work inside of them all together.
No, but altogether, no. We work in working groups. For example, in Barcelona, there will be working group Barcelona. In other working groups, but you don't need to be in all of them. And the thing is that
no, of course, no. Maybe sorry for my English. Maybe
and the thing about this, the problem with this is that the meeting of coordinators can be a very boring and not boring because can include working teams which activities are not very urgent for the business, while we have a business to run. We have customer service, operations, and stuff that need to be run in a different way. And we actually need to coordinate how to do these whole things. Because, of course, the level 2 and the working groups make a lot of sense to what Marco was saying of we need to enable people to work. And this is done in the level 2. But now we are having issues. We are having a lot of problems as a company. And this happens in the level 1. So, yeah, it's this executive group that now is key for everything. That's why I think that starting in the working groups, even though I believe we need to start working in working groups, but it's frustrating because we all know that we are not working well, and working groups is not the solution for many things.
Just a comment. Yes, I think as is a sensitive matter, we should be clear and avoid to develop at the same time different I would say, yes, I think it's important to differentiate between 2 things. One is actually what Damian already introduced. First, I think we should agree about the general structure. As Damiano already said, okay, I love the general structure. Then I have some concern, but the general structure is okay for me. I think we are working on it since long time. Basically, a few people we were working on it, And this is the really first one meeting where we are a lot together. So as Cito also said, I think it's important to express our opinion about this. And then maybe we can go deeper in this different stuff, because otherwise we are all the time turning around and we don't have a main fixed point to start and to improve the proposal. I think it's really important to agree about this, and then we could improve different stuff. And what I mean as well is, okay, one thing is agree about the proposal, other stuff is work and agree about how we will implement this proposal. And we, in the discussion, we all the time mixed the two stuff. So my question is, okay, we agree about the proposal. Yes, no, I don't like this stuff, I like this stuff. And then we could proceed in how we could implement the proposal.
I have a question. Is regarding the level 1, I believe. I think there was a slide in which you were suggesting they are elected. But elected by who?
Yeah, this is the. I didn't want to go very into detail to this, but I think it is important to do this. You can find it in the document. I will share it with you now. But the proposal we did, 1 second, was a mix of 1 second, and I will show. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The proposal we did was to have 9 people elected by different levels, where 4 positions are elected by the CDA. I don't know if you can see it here in my screen. 3 positions are voted by level 2 working group circle. Okay, and 2 positions remain empty after the voting process, where those 2 extra positions are defined by level 1 based on consensus. And if there is no consensus, they will remain empty during max of 3 months, after which there will be a second round at level 1. If we don't have consensus, CDA will define these 2 positions. The idea here is to have basically a board that is elected by different levels of governance, and that they are represented. They can represent these different levels. No?
Okay, thank you for the answer. But I can see an issue here. I mean,
Yeah.
this is the people that actually run the company.
Mm-hmm.
So they should have really high skilled people, possibly even hired people, not necessarily member of the cooperative. If we need somebody we have the money to pay, it could be there. And we are letting people outside that don't have any financial involvement or legal responsibility vote 2 of this person, or 4, I don't remember, 3 of this person.
3, level 2, the working group circle would vote 3 positions out of these 9.
Yeah, for me this is really problematic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah,
I
in
mean,
a regular cooperative, they would be selected by the CDA. I mean, this is what.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there should be any electoral process of these people should be nominated for their competence, because elections always bring power struggle, people lobbying with each other, doing a lot of WhatsApp chat behind the back of others to get elected in a position, and this is something we don't want. And we want that we have the board that hire the best possible people to run the show.
Yeah, and I think that we are very close. I mean, we are all thinking about. I wrote these tasks list. Damiano is talking about doing a plan for the coming 12 months and expenses, and I think following this plan, these needs, we can have positions that we need and see if we can cover them with the team, with the people we are, and otherwise hiring. But I think we could nominate and we could do work for nomination, but in the end, the election of an executive body is done by the CDA, by the CEO, in case there is not, or the delegate administrator if there is not the CDA. Or yeah, that's what used to be. If we want to open it, we could do it in the future once the level 2, the coordination is more developed. But right now it is not.
I mean, is a direct responsibility of these people to actually run the company, and they will have also to talk with the CDA. But I mean, they cannot be voted in by people who's not even a COP member. That's something that I mean. This is I believe this system is really nice, well beautifully crafted, but I think it doesn't actually. I don't know. I'm ready to be challenged on this, but I can't imagine a working business using this. On my experience, at least, I haven't seen anything like that. I mean, it could work very well for a group of volunteers, for an association, for a network of. But I understand where you're going. But I think that the core position should be held either by members or by people that is nominated, not even voted by members.
I think that a system that consent to people who are not a member of the cooperative to assume such a relevant role, it's not legally compliant with the basic legal and statutory scheme of the cooperative. We could have big problems about this.
Yeah, I understand totally. I mean, just one comment: to be in the level 2, you need to get involved several months in a working group or to be a COP member. Probably, also in that case, I mean, the people should be a COP member to be eligible. But I understand what you, Emanuele, said, and for me it makes sense also. Yeah, I understand what you say about the responsibility on the project. So yeah, for me it makes sense. I don't know if for the rest also.
It's not only about the responsibility. I mean, there is a specific moment for democracy inside a cooperative, okay, which is assembly, and we can be called even more than once a year and stuff like that. But and we can create a lot of democracy on the fringe of our organization, involve people, make them feel important, empower, give them tasks that are outside, especially with people that want to volunteer. But when we're talking about using money, we were talking about actually doing tasks and all stuff that has some legal and financial consequence. This stuff, I mean, we have to look at it like we are a company. I mean, we can create it more nuanced and fuzzy border as possible, but there is a core activities that must be run as a company.
Yeah, that's what I meant before. I think it's not. I think it's complementary. So if you see a problem there, for me it makes sense. What is important to me is that, for example, some working groups can be really open. Of course, some of them not, because they are very, as Cito said, some of them makes no sense that they are open. But if we are able to really
also
have
calling them working groups in certain cases would be, I mean, we can call them as we want, obviously, but if we are talking about finances, I mean, that's going to be a department, but stop, there's no working group there. It's going to be a person in charge, a secretary, and people who has hands on bank accounts and can deal with banks and financing and funding. That's it. It's closed. There's no discussion there. There's no elaboration, no debate, stuff to do. Stuff to do that is being decided at a strategic level by the CDA. The same is a working group, and I think that this idea of working group, I like it, but I think is for all those elaboration, reiteration, fringe activities that will allow us to be flexible and to involve a lot of people outside the business side of the activities. But for what is, I mean, I can't even imagine. I can imagine a working group on probably social media creation content, because you can involve a lot of people outside. It's a fun job and stuff like that. But you can create a working group on marketing. Marketing is a science.
Yeah.
Marketing is not debatable.
Yes,
It's,
yes.
but the company administration. Company administration is an administrator and a secretary. Finished. That's the
Yes, yes, of course.
Why?
For me,
Like
I guess that
software iteration, tests, development of new feature can go through a broader group outside, where we use a lot of people that can give us feedback, test stuff. Even testing new policies on the ground can be done in working groups, where you put together local nodes representative, key partners that work together to improve the system. But they cannot take a decision at the administrative, legal, or financial level.
yeah, I think we all are agreed there. I mean, when I think of a working group, of course, I see departments, but then we can have working groups that could work also thematic nodes, for example, no? Or as the crowdfunding thing is a project, but we can have many of those projects in the future in a different way. So, yeah. Cito or Damiano, I don't know who was talking, because I just interrupted you.
No, I wasn't. But I really agree with Emanuele in the fact that some things can be working group, and probably this is the way. Setting some departments and working groups and seeing which of these can be open to contributors and which should be only open to people of the level 1 executive circle, and close the decision-making process. Because in the end, we are still not talking about who takes the decision of hiring someone or not. Is the executive circle? Because that makes sense. But we need to agree that is the executive circle, and stop thinking about if the decision-making process was good or not, and taking a decision about who takes the decision.
Well, technically, my understanding is that technically is the administration that have to take decision on hiring people. I think that even
the administration does is like the CDA. The CDA signs it, but when you are a CEO and or a administrative delegated administrative in a cooperative, and you choose an executive circle, you sign as a CEO, but the decision is not taken by you; it's taken by the executive circle, and you follow them because they are hired for that.
Can I just come up with? You probably had a look at the suggestion I made. I don't know if you recall, but the idea was to separate let's say the cooperative administration and CDA from the executive branch, because let's say in generally what the cooperative must establish is which tasks, which objectives, what needs to be done with what money and in how much time. Then it identifies a person or a group of people who can somehow decide which are the best competence, the best actions to take to achieve what the CDA wants to achieve with the money there is. And that's why there must be a reporting mechanism, so that the CDA oversees the executive part. But then the executive must be, let's say the executive group must be totally autonomous. And it must be, how should I say, it can be, it should report. It should explain what it's doing. And then the CDA can have, if the CDA reaches a certain proportion, let's say 3/4 of the CDA feels the executive team is not doing fine, it must first identify an alternative executive team and then substitute it. But that's why in most companies you separate these functions. Otherwise, you have, and Emanuele identified it, if you have people who are voted in, you have a vested interest. You cannot be a independent decision maker if you're paid by your decision.
But
One of the strong principles in the private sector, this has always been the case. I think, and I'll finish there, I think this model, and appreciate this, all your suggestions I think are very, very interesting. It would be interesting to identify to which aspects of our business they apply. And my understanding is that they mostly and probably best apply to the Fbnb social, let's say to our outreach. We need to manage, now we have over 900 people on Fbnb social, and they are all waiting to do something for us, and we have not been able to properly manage them. And certainly what you're suggesting in terms of working groups and the various instruments you're suggesting, I think are perfectly fit for that objective.
Yeah, that's why I was mentioning it before. No, I think it's totally complementary with more, with the structure you propose. No, and yeah, I see also the need of, and indeed in this governance proposal is already there. No, the need of separating the CDA from this executive circle also. No, I think it's there. So yeah, I think we agree on that. No.
Yes, I think that if we find a complementary way on how to enforce this mechanism, because really what we need is to have an organization that can attract and keep the best talents. And if it is too airy, it will be really hard to do so. We already lost many valuable people, and if we want to hire the best and keep them with us, we really must be keen to create a real startup that works as a startup, that maybe even better, because all this mechanism that we can implement is something that nobody can count on. Seeing all the other startups that I have around, like, we are really potentially super lucky, but we miss the basic foundations, and this can be scary also for the people. So it's understanding how can we match these principles and these ideas, keep them, but being sure that now we see that we have an operational plan. In 12 months we will do this, we will hire these people, and in 3 years we will be 30 people employed, and in 5 years we will be 100 people employed. But to arrive there, like, if we need to make sure that we have all the instruments, and just what it is right now written in these documents, we don't address the basic needs of having the best competencies and the people that are located where need to be located for certain aspects, to address at best the best functions. So let's work on this.
So where do we go from here?
From my point of view, what I see, I really see like something that I mentioned before, no, and which is there are two kind of structures, which are one much more organic and open, and one much more, I would say, rigid, or I don't know how to say it, but yeah. And I really see that both of them can be combined and can work together. And because what we need is to really organize better the core group and the way we work together. defining the, working groups that are not working groups but departments with coordinators and with specific tasks, but and this is very important for me, that work using work using the transparency and work collaborative tools inside the group. And then we have the more organic structure, which is able to really attract and keep all the talent we have in our community. And I think really both of them can. I think we are really close to define the whole thing. So.
I do agree as well, but I think the way of going is the other way around. We were starting in level 2 and then going to level 1, and I think that was a mistake, because I think before we need to, as Carlos is suggesting, to prioritize the tasks, to see which people are going to do that, to create the core team of people that are going to be in the executive circle, and then what is not included there, then it is in working groups, because marketing is not going to have a working group. But I don't know. Let's see which departments are going to be inside this executive circle. And actually, in Basecamp, there are different levels. There are the levels of the team and the levels where there are clients. And so in this level where there is only people of the team, there will be the level 1 and the department, whereas in the level where there are clients, that in our case are not clients, are collaborators, there will be the working team. So let's see the tasks that we need to do. Let's assign roles, and depending on the role you have, then you of course have the coordination of the working group attached to it. So for example, in the case of partnerships, I think that partnership is essential in our project. So it will be a department, and there will be discussions to be taken within the executive circle about, for example, a contract with this work with a specific partner. But at the same time, it can also have a working group, because we want collaborators and contributors helping us to expand the work of partnerships. But the key questions on partnerships that are strategic will be taken within this executive circle. So yeah, I would start defining, as I was saying, the tasks, roles, and then going further, the other way around.
So you propose to activate level 1. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say that I'm listening. I don't have a very good connection, but I'm listening carefully, and I want to thank you guys for an amazing job, because you were being consistent. You had a lot of meetings, and it really showed results. And it looks like something very big, which it is, but I think it really makes sense to apply these changes. And I also agree with Cito, I guess, on this, that we need to do it more like iterative approach, and start by listing some tasks. And also, of course, we cannot apply everything in one go, because we have we have to keep in mind that we have limited resources, and this would really work for a big organization. We are not there yet, but we can start applying different things, and some things we can apply right away, like I don't know, introducing Basecamp, Lumio, or listing out the tasks and all roles and all those things. So there are some things that we can already apply, and we can do it in like iterative mode. So some things maybe not be like the way we imagine it right now, according to your presentation. It can be a hybrid model, but I think it's a good way to start the debate. And I really like the vision, because it sounds like a collaborative approach, a team approach, an approach with transparency and with sharing all the stuff that is being done. And also it's more effective and more efficient, because in this way, the decisions would not be blocked like sometimes it is right now, because we end up discussing a lot, or we get frustrated. Well, we all know what happens. So I think in this case, we can really reach a lot. So it's not that we have to now, from tomorrow, start this whole process, because I think we still ourselves don't understand completely how it looks like, but we can start with some steps, and some steps that are really obvious, like I mentioned. So yeah, that's my opinion about it, and I will be happy to support in any way that is needed.
So, Indra, because yeah, I think, well, I would like to listen everyone, no, but I think we are one of the tasks we wanted to assign today, or to start doing all together from today, was to define to really define into detail the specific tasks and goals and procedures for every working group. And what I see, as you were mentioning, Sito, is that, yeah, I mean, I think we are agreeing, and those working groups, some of them will be called departments or closed working groups, but yeah, departments, and some of them probably will be more open. So yeah, from my point of view, one of the main tasks now would be that we share with you a table we created with some important info we found to define the working groups, and maybe start there, really defining all the tasks and all the groups, and then prioritize them together, and see what is open, what is not. And then from there, probably we could activate level 1 and see what is level 2. I don't know, what do you think, guys? Just to see the next step and go to it, for it.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if that was the same sheet that I saw before. It has already some categories, and I think maybe it would be easier if we just list out everything without categorizing first, because the categorization already imposes something, and our current categorization didn't work in some cases. So I don't know, but in any way, I agree with this, that we should do it.
Yes, so you propose...
I believe... Sorry,
Yes,
I believe that working groups can be done for everything, are an amazing way of doing crowdsourcing. In our network, probably maybe in 2 years, 1 year, there will be 20 marketers that will help, or all this stuff. I think that we need a cooperative with functional units. We need a hiring plan, and we need to understand which of the functions and of the key figures need to speak with each, needs to stay close, because some of the things are not related one another, so can be also in different places, but the majority of the most important activities, so especially the one that are done by the foot soldier, let's say, have to stay and have to work with functional units, as it is in all companies. Or if we have this and we match with the distributed work, with the distributed members, with the working groups and all this stuff, we will have an amazing power, but we will have also the general direction, and also we will have the assembly that can and have to approve somehow the operational plan that is for the year coming. So I think that in this way we could have eventually all these aspects respected. But if we don't have functional units, let's say, it is hard, because if we have that the communication group is not staying with those that are working in a certain place, we won't be one organization. We will be several different groups that are not working organically, and this is my
I think we should also divide the kind of task we expect people to do. I mean, from outside the organization. Obviously, if you pay somebody, or if he's a member of the cooperative, he's an employee, so we know what he's doing, and we know is to report and stuff like that. Usually, if you want to involve people from outside, you either use them for really operative tasks, for example, translations, localization of platform or research group, test user, feature test, something like that. Because the risk of having, like we say, too many cooks in the kitchen in working group, especially when you work on the creative side of certain aspect, like about strategy or marketing or stuff like that. It's, on my experience, very ineffective. I mean, you better give specific tasks and then feed them to your community and see the result. Like, for example, if you want to develop a new logo, you can do a crowdsource the ideas, and then obviously you have also to pay them and reward people accordingly. Or you can have a new concept for communication, but the main strategy, who's that strategy, has to be so in knowledge of every single aspect of the company, his organization, the funding, the legal aspect of stuff, that cannot be just crowdsourced, that kind of information. And otherwise,
No, I think sorry.
Yeah, finished.
No, sorry. No, I just wanted to mention that, yeah, I totally agree that, of course, there are operative things that will be part of the core of the company. But what I see in the future, but this will be, we still need to start and to make it happen. But for me, the thematic notes probably will bring a lot of value to our project. I mean, when we talk about food and travel, about sports and travel, about social projects, about data and tourism, about all this stuff, I imagine it as awesome working groups and communities inside our community that could really bring a lot of value. But of course, that the most operative and functional stuff needs to be done inside of a core group managed by the company and the CDA and everything.
And also, I would like to say something about the work ethics, which for me is pretty important. I mean, it's okay to involve people, having volunteers and stuff like that, but it's also very important to reward people if they bring you value. So in my company, I have a queue of people that want to do stages here, and we only do very few, and we pay them. Because, I mean, I think the world has gone in the wrong direction. People is ready to work, kids and are out and they're giving the work for free to companies, and companies are exploiting it. And I think that we should do better than this. So we have to find a way to be open, to accept volunteer people, but without trying to milk the good faith of people that maybe hope to be noted or to get a position or something like that. We need to try to create a system that promote professionalism, and if somebody gives you things, you pay them.
Totally.
It's a cancer of our society. There's this idea that people works for exposure, works because they learn something, stuff like that. If they learn, of course, but I think it's a very we have to take a position in this direction.
I really like this point. I completely agree. I think it's really important. And I would point out as well that our special project has we could have a bad behavior in two directions. One is you already mentioned, but the other one is in terms of
uno.
Sí, creo que sí, okay. In terms of social innovation, I mean, we could have bad behaviors in terms of expectation we create in local communities, and all of these job that people that want to dream a different kind of economy and world approach us to help, and actually we start to give them some esperanza, some hope, sorry, and then actually all their job maybe would be useless because we didn't organize ourselves, and then all the job they give to us and all the hope is completely lost. I mean, so there is something really, really clear when we are using people for some kind of job without a real reward, but there is also this other problem about social innovation. I don't know if I'm being clear about it, but I think it's really important. It's a key point.
I got you, Domenico. I think you've got an enormous point there. Since plus this community is really an enormous resource we have tapped in a very superficial way until now. But I think that's part of the analysis we should be doing, we will be doing in the coming few days. And what it's not just analysis of what decisions we've taken, or what actions we haven't taken, or which actions we could have done better, but particularly in choosing which need to be done in the coming weeks. In the coming weeks, we are opening the platform. We will need to somehow go through a growth path, and that is an issue we have never really discussed yet. But it has, while drafting the business plan, and I remind you that at the moment there is one which has gone to CFI, there's another one which is going to go to Banca Etica, and the two will not be exactly the same. And probably our definitive business plan will be a third plan, which we all need to discuss and we all need to share, we all need to agree upon, because that plan is going to tell us how we're going to get where we're trying to get. And when I'm saying that, I mean, it means both how we're going to grow the technical instrument, how we're going to grow our communications towards the wider public, but also our community, and particularly how we're going to bring on board hosts and travelers. One of the points which is, and I'll terminate on this, one of the most difficult points to come across, to get across, is the fact that we are in a network economy, and that network economy requires numbers to grow pretty fast if you want to, if you want to stay. We've looked at over 60 platforms doing this business, and there are a few platforms which failed, which disappeared just in the last 5 years. So it's really a very ambitious project, but in a very competitive environment. And we need to have focus on where we want to get and how strong we want to push our things, what our ambitions are. And last point, and what monies we can get for that, and what monies we will use to get there.
Yeah, I think talking about the future now, it's tricky, because actually we would need to think what you said last, money. And I think that everything we are talking today, it's related with money, and we're not talking about it, because I mean, in the list of tasks that I wrote last week, we could see there were 10 tasks that each of them could be done, or would require almost one full-time position in a regular company, and we are not 10 people working full-time. So I think we should stop thinking about the long future and think about next week, and from there start thinking about how to grow, how to expand, and everything. Because right now things are going very bad, and we need to see how to work how we are right now, not how we will work in 3 months or in 3 years.
Sito, sorry. Yes, I totally agree with what you said. So I will take advantage of it to say that we are more than 1 hour already talking. I must say, I am super happy that we had this meeting, and I really appreciate, and I'm super thankful that you all are here. I think it's super important. And I'm also very happy to say that I really think that all the points of view we shared here are totally compatible. And what I would suggest also from this team working way and collaborative way I was saying, what I would do is, and let's see if you like it, as a task, as something very specific to start with. You started this list of tasks, which I find really good. But what I would do is, as Indre was suggesting, let's all together during the coming days, we can set a deadline during the coming week. Let's all of us collaboratively complete that list. Let's put all the things we really think needs to be done, and that is part of those core departments that Emanuele was saying. And then after that, we will also bring all the suggestions you said, also the structure of the company that you also put in the business plan, and let's try to merge all these things. And in a week, we can, from this task, kind of create together the departments or close working groups. And then after that, we can continue with the discussion with the future of the open working groups and the rest of the community, governance and business plan and whatever. But I would do that. I would be very specific. Let's go to the tasks, and then from that, let's build the departments and positions. And yeah, what do you think? And because we should close also the meeting in few minutes.
I think collaboration and participation is good, but coordination is required. So if you agree with taking manage of that, it will be better.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
yeah, I will do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I will do that. So yeah, I will send you all the list of tasks, and after that we can all together discuss about these departments.
Yeah, I think that we can we have to talk and so that we can merge also the work that we have been doing on business plan and this stuff.
Totally.
Many of these things we have already starting to work on this. So and are complementary. I agree with you. So when you want, I'm up for it.
Yeah, perfect. Let's talk later.
Please, let's focus and let's try to become a startup as soon as possible. I think it is what we are all feeling that we need. Let's do it.
Great. So for me, I don't know if you want to comment something, but for me, again, the task is to merge business plan and governance, create the list of tasks, and then in 1 week, I don't know if it's too long, but in 1 week max, we can have another meeting and discuss all this stuff.
Okay.
Perfect.
Any comment? Okay, I read you, Carlo. Thank you. So yeah, see you in 1 week. I will write you in Slack.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Bye. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.